Hi everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for having me back. How many people were here last year? Just a quick show of hands. Now the voting buttons are gone. Okay, cool. Okay. So I'm not going to cover old ground. So my name is Hartigan. I work at Google. I'm an industry manager for the technology vertical. What that means is I work with technology brands and helping them make the most out of the web by using Google products and services to reach consumers. And I work with probably some people, I think, in this room already. But today I'm going to take a slightly different tact. And I'm going to talk about some of the products that we as Google are developing and the impact that they might have on future business and, in particular, the smart home itself. Some announcements that are very fresh and very recent from last week that I hope to cover. So let me click. So talk about when I was younger and I wanted to find information. The main place I would go to look for information would be my parents. I started off with my parents. I asked them the questions, the difficult questions, and now as a parent with a child who's just turned 4, I'm starting to get those questions to myself, the difficult questions. On the school run the other day, my daughter Isabel asked me who Jesus was, which is a pretty difficult conversation to uncover on the way. But I'm sure we've all been there when we're younger. In terms of seeking information, our parents are the main source of the truth, or in the case of my answer to that question, not the truth in that case. We then moved on, like when I was at school, who had a set of these Encyclopedia Britannicas, leather-bound sets of Encyclopedia Britannicas? When I was doing my school homework, this was my source of plagiarism. Beyond the days of when you could sort of learn how to do your copying stuff from the internet. I never had a set, my parents never had a set, but my next door neighbour had a set, so I would come round and borrow the letter that I wanted, take it back, try and find the information. I did Tudors, I borrowed T for Tudors, had to knock on his door about 10 o'clock at night again to get H for Henry VIII afterwards. But that was the next step, and then it evolved from there, started to get a little bit older, and I went to like Microsoft Encarta on the CD, yeah? First came out in 1995. Edition had 62,500 entries. That was amazing. If I wanted to do anything, I wanted to find that information, Microsoft Encarta was the place to go. 1995 was the edition that I had. We then, you can see where this is going, we then came to the birth of Google, like formed in 1998 in a garage in Palo Alto by our founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page. Even at the point of inception, it carried 26 billion web pages. A phenomenal number, considering we're just, where I was exploring over the time, Meta years before was just 62,500 items from Encarta. And over the time, Google has grown significantly, as you're all sure. So back then I mentioned 26 billion. We're now up to 1 trillion web pages. In 2008, that was 1 trillion, right? I don't even know where we are now, and I'm sure we published that information. But actually, Google has evolved as a business. We've acquired businesses. We've created different businesses along the way. You can see where we first started. We launched AdWords. We purchased YouTube. We launched Google Chrome, which is now the most powerful browser, only 8 years ago. And then recently, we've made a whole load of sort of acquisitions and developed new businesses. Notably, since we're here talking about smart home, the acquisition of Nest was a very important acquisition for us. Firstly, for the technology in which that came with Nest, but mainly for the thinking. And another significant development was the acquisition of DeepMind, which was a company we acquired a couple of years ago, a UK-based company that had 17 employees, 17 very rich employees, might I add now, post-acquisition. And that's been one of the most important acquisitions we've made, because we're able to incorporate a lot of their machine learning, their technology, into all our products and services as they exist today. And it's a big part of our future, which I'll come on to. This is where we are now. 100 billion searches per month. That's what we take globally. So in the course of this half-an-hour presentation, that's about 63 million searches have done globally during that time. And I find this phenomenal. Every day, 15% of their searches are new, brand new searches. We've never seen them before in terms of the way that people are searching. It's a phenomenal amount of new queries that are coming into Google to search for information on a regular basis. Something fundamental has happened over the last couple of years that has really changed the way in which consumers search, in which we behave as an organisation, and it's been the greatest change probably since the inception of the organisation. Anyone guess what it is? It's the mobile phone. Our love for the mobile phone, which has now taken over as the dominant way in which people are searching. It's now the most common place people search. And in the UK in particular, we love our smartphones. We'll try a social experiment here and see how attached everyone is. And apologies if you've ever done this before, but if everyone has their smartphone in their hand, everyone could take their smartphones out, that would be great. If you have smartphones. And if you could just pass it to the person next to you, that would be great. Just hand it to the person next to you. How does that make you feel? Like, pretty uncomfortable, yeah? Like, people start sweating. Some people say, I'm not passing it. You can hand them back now, It's generally just a social test to see how... So people are very nervous and very attached to their mobile phones. It's almost become an extension of themselves. Last time I was here, I talked about the zero moment of things. So a quick summary for people who weren't there. That basically, like a new model of advertising involves a zero moment of things, which is a new moment, which involves people seeing advertising, and then later on they go into shops. Yeah, that's the traditional model. The new model is there is a massive area that happens between when people go see the first moment, first stimulus in terms of advertising, to when they actually go into shops. And I talked last year about the many ways in which the internet encompasses that zero moment of truth, be it reviews, watching videos, looking at price comparisons. A lot of those zero moments of truth are actually happening online, and increasingly, these moments of truth are happening on mobile phones. They are happening on mobile phones, right? If we look at the one of the biggest moments of the technology vertical calendar, which at the moment is still the iPhone. So we look at the iPhone 7, which was announced on September the 9th this year. 70% of people searching for iPhone 7, 70% of people in the UK have done that from mobile phones. Not from desktops, laptops, tablets, from mobile phones. That's a huge, huge swing. And in the UK, for the last few years, we've seen that the volume of searches that are associated with an iPhone launch are indicative of the volume of searches that you will see for Black Friday and for other key moments of the year. And so if my message didn't come home last year in terms of have a mobile strategy for your business, now it's absolutely fundamental. You should have a mobile strategy first and foremost, yeah? And then work out what to do on the laptops and desktops, because this is the trend that is not going away. The other thing about mobile phones, and this is actually a global study that I'm about to show you, is the amount that it's used in store for research. And we can see some categories which we're very familiar with there, which is high up in this survey, of when people use their mobile phones in store to seek information. And I'm sure we've all done it. We've all been in store, we've all checked prices, we've all looked for reviews of products, etc. And I appreciate that with the people in this room, they rely on that personal touch of people in store, but you have to also accept that particularly in sort of modern markets, people are using their mobile phones in store to check prices, to do all those other things. I think this is a significant volume. And why is it significant for the smart home? Because we see as the mobile phone to be an imperative part or a fundamental part of how the smartphone exists. How the smart home works. I use my mobile phone to I'm going to say some really sad personal things here, I just realised. To turn on my electric blanket, yeah, I know it's October and I have an electric blanket, but I turn on my electric blanket so it's nice and warm before I go upstairs, right? A little bit lazy. I use my mobile phone to connect my Philips Hue lights so I can put on a disco when I have the kids round for a party. We do a disco. And I use my mobile phone to speak to my Nest thermostat to say what the temperature should be when I'm approaching home. It only occurred to me as I stay here this evening that sort of like is difficult for my wife and children because my mobile phone tells, like the proximity to my device on my mobile phone basically indicates the temperature. So if I'm here in London, it's going to be freezing back in my house. I should probably let them know that that's going to be the case. So if we have a look at smart home, right, and we're very lucky at Google that we have access to what we call a database of intent, which is where like consumers searching and that information of how consumers are actually, of the things that people are looking for within Google. If we have a look at all the search terms we can find that are associated with a smart home. And we look, 2015, it's not going to tell you much until I show you 2016. We've seen about a 50% year-on-year increase in people searching for items, brands, questions to do with the smart home. The September spike is weirdly to do with the Apple launch. With the launch of Apple HomeKit, Apple launches tend to have a massive impact across the consumer electronics division, and that's what's sort of driving that big spike. It's not associated to any particular product or any particular question. It's driven the whole category, the fact that Apple HomeKit is actually available now to the public. We see the smart home category sort of split into three areas: security, utility, and appliances. Security is the big one at the moment, actually, in terms of searches. Like, these smart locks seem to be really catching on, particularly in August of this year. I was reading just this morning about like a new thing called a smart doorbell, which the more I read, the less smart it appeared to be. Essentially, it's a doorbell with a speaker that you just move around your house, so you just carry your doorbell with you. Weird, nothing smart about that. But you can see as we searched in Google that some of the brands that are advertising and showing next to some of these categories, maybe some familiar brands, maybe some unfamiliar brands, I'll briefly talk to you about some of the sort of advertising stuff that's happening here. We have this new Google Shopping, which I mentioned last year, is going to be a massive part of the developments within Google. If you're doing Google AdWords and not doing Google Shopping, you are doing something wrong, because particularly within this category, it's going to be a big part of how Google will exist across particularly mobile devices. And we're able to show now to people who provide it in-store stock. So you're able to say where to buy those, we're able to show consumers where to buy those stores. And that, for anyone who remembers last year, I showed a lovely example about when I bought a drill, and Screwfix was best of class then, and Screwfix is best of class here. Utility, yes, we have, like Google owns Nest, and it's shown there. I wonder why we're not advertising in #1 position for our own terms. I'll pick that with our marketing division. And then the smart fridge as well. Smart fridge is something that's intrigued me for many years. Like, there's lots of debates going on about whether you can have a fridge with cameras that can take photos of the inside to your fridge, but then what happens when you close your fridge and the light goes off? You need then a camera that can see in the dark, etc. Do you barcode scan them? But I'm pleased to see there's lots of developments in the smart fridge today. And actually, for me, it solves a problem. In my household, we are rubbish at observing best before dates with our food. Okay? We throw away too much food a week because of disorganization of meal planning, resulting in us throwing sort of food away. So for me, the smart fridge that reminds me when stuff is going out of date, even though I don't quite know what to do with them, is a fantastic invention, right? And I can see this is actually solving a problem for me. Saving me time, solving me money, to the points we heard earlier today are valuable. This is something that I can't really see the value of. So this is called a Toasteroid, and what it does is it allows you on your smartphone to put reminders into your toaster so you can toast them. So when you get your toast in the morning, it can send you reminders. So you can send your reminders to your friend about what to do through their toast, assuming everyone has toast. It's on Kickstarter. You can still fund it if you want it, if you still want. So that to me, maybe not so, maybe just, like we heard earlier, technology for technology's sake, maybe not the best use of someone's time and money, but this guy is sure enjoying it. Like, thanks for reminding me to pay the bills. It says, this is a cool thing as well, right? I mean, if you've got a spare £75,000 to spare, you can get one of these robots that actually cooks for you, right? You program the meal, it actually cooks, and it actually follows some professional chefs to make some great recipes. You can program it what food you want, and it will cook, and most importantly, it will wash up afterwards, right? It will clear everything away afterwards. So I think that is a fantastic invention for the future. And I've already sort of noted that in the Hartigan household, we are rubbish at cooking and looking after food. So this, for me, is something that maybe has got legs and actually saves me time. I don't want to come home and cook of an evening. I don't enjoy it. But it won't save me money at this price. So that's another good thing. This one's extraordinary. This is called Roll Scout, right? This is too far, I think. This is basically a internet-connected toilet roll that will send you a text message when your toilet roll has run out. Yeah? Your bathroom has just got smarter, right? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But the biggest thing that I think about this is that if I get a text message saying, if I'm at work and I get a text message saying that my toilet roll has run out, the first thing I think is, who on earth is in my house? Like, and they've not only come to my house, they've used all my toilet roll. I don't know what's going on. I think this is, but I love the strapline. It's ideal for home, great for business. Every CEO should get an alert, get their alert set up, backed by all these people. I find it's fantastic. So that's maybe an example again. So we've got some great examples, some bad examples of sort of smart home technology there. One of the biggest things that we've seen with regards to how mobile search has evolved and people searching on their mobile phone, and it's slightly a US trend at the moment, is that about a quarter of people searching in the US on Google on their mobile phones doing so via voice. So they're saying, OK, Google, right? To activate Google, I'm not activating Google then, and that's how they're sort of activating, and they're searching like that. And for us who sort of got interest in digital marketing, that's actually changed how people search, and their search behavior has changed dramatically since sort of voice search came about. When I first started working in sort of marketing and search marketing in particular, people would just search like one word, right? If you wanted a holiday, people would just type in holiday, right? And then it got to a stage where people were searching for very, very long words, 2-bed self-catering holiday for 4 in Mallorca in June, etc. It got really long. And now voice search is starting to change that again. Never have we seen as many searches for the word please, right? Because people are very courteous to Google, and they ask us they search in a polite way over mobile phone. But actually, this technology has allowed us to create a product that was launched last week, so hot off the press, which was Google Home. So this is our voice-activated speaker that allows you to bring the value of Google via voice search into your device. And I'm now going to show you a cheesy American video that explains all about it.
Okay, Google, turn on the hall lights.
Okay, Google, turn up the music.
Okay, Google, what's a good substitute for cardamom?
Mix together equal parts cinnamon and nutmeg.
Okay, Google, what sound does a whale make?
Okay, Google, what's the weather?
Two babies dream.
How do you say nice to meet you in Spanish?
Encantada de conocerte.
Okay, Google, dim the lights.
Come coming soon. We're not the only ones who are looking at this. We've got lots of organizations. We have Samsung, Z-Wave, etc., with their smart home technologies, but also you've got Siri. Apple aren't going to leave this technology alone. They're using the Apple TV as a way to sort of get into people's homes and start to run. You've got Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg stood on the stage and talked about how he wants to create his own Jarvis from Iron Man, and that's his sort of ambition in his house, and he announced some very clever AI technology earlier this year to perhaps set the background for that. Microsoft as well aren't going to leave this space alone, and their way in is through business and through our sort of the office products and Windows, etc., to try and get into people's homes. And finally, you've got Amazon, who've just launched the Echo into the UK, and by all and large, it's been quite successful, and it's powered by Alexa, their tool. So lots of people, lots of big organizations are going to sort of develop products to try and sit in within this space. But just to set as like grounding us, and I'm pleased we saw some stats about the industry overall before we get too carried away. If we compare it to dishwashers, so all the searches you saw earlier, which are growing 50%, if we compare this to searches for dishwashers, what do you think the ratio is? Any guesses? No guesses, I'll tell you. It's 40 times, right? People are searching for dishwashers 40 times more than they're searching for anything to do with the smart home at the moment. So our mainstream product categories are still very, very popular in terms of we see it from search volume, and as we saw earlier, growth from a sales volume at the same time. But we do have growth within smart home. This is a slide I added just at the last minute because I thought it would be really interesting based on today. Has anyone heard of Enjoy? So it was based on a conference I was at last week. A guy called Ron Johnson, who used to run the Apple retail stores and then went to JCPenney, and it was a disaster and he got sacked. But he's now started a business called Enjoy, which is all about delivering technology to people's houses, installing it for them and making it work, right? He's raised $30 million so far. They've got a returns rate of 1.2%. It's in the US only at the moment. I think this should be a wake-up call to everyone in the UK to start something similar like this. He started a phenomenally successful business. He was over here in London last week at the FT conference speaking about this product and service, and you bet he's going to be holding conversations here at the same time. So I just thought that would be interesting. He'd add it. I talked about YouTube a little bit last year, but this is where we see people going to discover products, and we see very much with the smart home that there's a lot of people who don't know about it from a consumer perspective. We see a lot of people coming to YouTube, which is the second largest search engine, when people don't really know how things work and they want things to be explained. One of the biggest videos we see on YouTube is like how to tie a tie. We've seen like a 90% growth in how-to searches on YouTube over the last year, which for a platform which is bigger than, which does 4K and is bigger than a lot of the 4K channels that we saw earlier. Guess what the biggest how-to is? How to kiss. Like, it's amazing, watch it. I learned, 37 years, I've made some big mistakes over there. These are a selection of searches we've seen on YouTube over the last 30 days. So, lots of these are connected with the smart home, as you might imagine. And I think there's an opportunity for a UK company to actually put themselves here. Maybe there are some UK companies here, maybe these companies are in the room, but actually, I think these are largely US companies who are there explaining. And I think when there's consumer appetite to find out about something, I think you can achieve a competitive advantage by being the ones to take the consumer on that journey, to explain to them about it, and then keep that consumer in your database to advertise at a later point. I think that's... when I was in telco, I worked for O2, and we used this. We used the fact that people were searching on YouTube for how-tos and information on how to do stuff, and we built something called O2 Guru TV, which was essentially our top 10 searches, our top 10 problems that people would phone in and hang on the phone to our call center staff for 45 minutes, and we'd move them online. So we created videos about all the how-tos we would get. How to set up an email on a BlackBerry cost us £45, right? We moved that how-to, we created a video for it. We pointed people who were on the phone to our YouTube channel at the time to watch these how-to videos, and we managed to cut the call center waiting times and actually improve our margins on some of those questions that we were solving for consumers at the same time. So a valuable thing. B&Q are doing it as well. Lots of other companies are trying to move their how-to videos and their instructional service, which I know is coming up shortly after me, onto YouTube at the same time. Back to search. A big development for us was the creation of, like, the understanding of synonyms, of when people, this was sort of our early machine learning and artificial intelligence, when we started to understand what different terms mean in conjunction with what people were searching for, that they might mean different things. And so we'd show people different results based on the context that surrounded their query when they were searching in Google. And we've developed that now so we understand we understand how people are searching based on their previous searches. And so you can search for Eiffel Tower, and then you can say how tall is it, and it remembers you searched for Eiffel Tower. So we're starting to develop a bit more of the context around individual searches that people are making. This is a bit, intriguing window into my life, but we've also made Google much more personal. So on a mobile device, using Google now, up to now, you can search for individual things that are personal to you, and it will scour all the information you have across your Google products. Importantly, if you let it, yeah? It's not going in and finding this stuff without my permission. So it's able to pull up my schedule, my flights, my packages. Super embarrassing of the time that I had to show this when I've ordered a gold satin jacket, gold sequin jacket with satin. Yeah, I'm wearing that for dinner later if anyone wants to come and see me, that's especially for tonight. So Google has become more personal over time. And actually, we've sort of taken that to the next level earlier this year when we released a messenger called Allo. And this essentially was a beta product for what we have recently launched, which is the Google Assistant. And the Google Assistant is your own personal Google. So it understands the context of things around you and understands what the searches are that you make and might be relevant to you, as well as your history and everything that you've allowed to show. But I'll show you another video that can explain it far better than I can.
When we started, we made this for everyone, so that everyone could find anything they need among the millions of bazillions of things in the world. Today, it seems like sometimes it's easy to feel like you need a little help with the stuff just in your own world. Your photos, phone, videos, calendars, messages, friends, trips, reservations, and so on and so on. Wouldn't it be nice if you had some help with all that? Wouldn't it be nice if you had a Google for your world? That's why we're building the Google Assistant.
Hi, Amy. How can I help?
You just ask it what you need. Okay, Google, what do I have to do today? And your assistant understands and helps you out. You can even carry on a conversation with it. How long will it take to get to downtown Chicago from home?
Here you go.
What restaurants are there? Book a table at Cortino Restaurant.
Sure.
And the assistant is always there for you. So if you're on the road, you can ask it where to fill up. And if you're at home, you can ask it to play some music. Or if you're in a chat with a friend, it can show you what's playing tonight. It's like your own personal Google. Naturally, anything you share with it is safe and secure. And the more you use your Google Assistant, the more useful it becomes. Remember, my byte combo is 326.
Got it.
And soon, you'll be able to access it from all sorts of places, so it will be everywhere you are. We made this for everyone. And today, we're making this just for you.
Hi, how can I help?
Meet your Google Assistant.
So that's fresh. That was announced last week, and gives you an indication of some of the integrations of some of the machine learning, the integration of DeepMind, and the personal direction in which search is going to where we're taking the business. But essentially, like, our goal really hasn't changed too much. I place emphasis here on the words you, because actually we think that search is going to become a much more personal thing to deliver you the right message, or the right answers at the right time. And so I'd love you all to think about how this can be sort of integrated into your strategies for the future and for your business. I'd love to stay and talk about it a little bit longer, but I've got a message come in, and I need to dash home to my wife. Thank you. Cheers.